welcome back to another episode of Neon Jesus. I am Pastor Brandon.
I'm Josh.
I'm Lanaya.
And today we're going to talk about mental health in the church. So I kind of sprung this on you guys, what was that, late last week.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about how my mental health was affected by my church life. Like, not did the church address mental health, but how my mental health was affected by the church life. And I say that to say this. When I grew up, we went to church all the time. When I say all the time, we had church on Sunday morning. As a matter of fact, we had something called Sunday school. You might not be familiar with that.
No, I'm familiar with this. Shoot.
Oh, you familiar with Sunday school?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
for sure.
That was like pre-church. So it was like the pre-game. So pre-church, then regular church, and then we would come back at night. She said pre-church. Yeah.
That's how it was.
That's how it was. Then we would come back at night, and then we would have sometimes a Tuesday night service. Oh, yeah. And on Sundays, sometimes after pre-church, regular church, and night church, sometimes they would throw in a 3 o'clock service in there.
Okay.
And we would do church on Tuesdays. We definitely was doing church on Wednesdays. And then we were doing church probably on Friday and Saturday as well. And to be honest with you, I didn't like going to church all the time like that. Because
You said you were like a kid and you wanted to be outside, or like.
Yeah, I wanted to be outside.
Yeah.
I wanted to be outside, and I think that. So when I said it had an effect on me, right?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
Because like we would be outside playing, and my mom she would be like, "It's time to go to church." So I'm like, man, I don't want to go to church. It was not like I hated church, but church was taking me away from the things that I wanted to do at that time.
Oh, man, I feel you with that. Shoot, that was me growing up, especially coming from a homeschool family. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about Sunday school? Like the way I grew up under this curriculum called the Becca Academy. So it had the Bible. We had Bible classes.
Yeah.
Every day. So it's like it was like having Sunday school 6 days a week along with church.
Yeah.
So that's how like a lot of the Bible knowledge that me and my siblings had, because it's like it was a consistent thing. But however, one of the things that me and my siblings we would talk about is that we longed for just what was it like being a regular kid that's outside of homeschool. What was that like? Because that was that one part that we was missing. Because even while we were in the homeschool, we knew the Bible. It was the experience of the Bible that we did not get a chance to really experience. Because our classmates my classmates were my siblings.
Yeah. That may have been a good thing, because my classmates were always making fun of me because I went to church all the time. It was like it wasn't cool to go to church when I came up. And I think me having to go to church all the time, kind of being ridiculed at school because I went to church all the time, I think that did play a part in how I viewed and how I thought about church. Going there, I had fun at church, but it was like, it was like I was trying to find that medium, So, Lanaya, you recently got baptized.
Yes.
So, let's clap that up, clap it up. And I was able to baptize you, and I know we talked about, you coming to this point, but before we get into more of the mental side of it, what mind state were you in when you said, "Hey, I need to accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior"?
Well, I'll start. I think it's important to say I'm not from Texas, and I think that played a big part in it. I'm from Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
We moved here when I was in 3rd grade, about 8 years old. And in Seattle, you have like small, intimate churches. And when I moved here, I was like, you see big, giant mega churches. You see people flying like literally through like it's a big concert on, with harnesses and stuff. And I think my mom was pretty intimidated by that. And so we kind of like felt like outsiders here for a long time, and it took us a minute to kind of find a place that was homey. And so that again took years, and so that was years I just wasn't with God, and then I got to college, and my junior year specifically, I think, is where, like, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one.
I have.
The, what is that, like the Curse of the Black
yeah,
Pearl?
Yeah, the Curse of the Black Pearl.
And one of the things the pirate captain says, and I don't know why I remember this because I've seen that movie once, like so long ago, but he was talking about how his hunger can never be like, his hunger is never satisfied, his thirst is never quenched and stuff like that. And that's how I started to feel in life. You know, certain things started to stick out to me more in college. Not that I was ever doing anything crazy in college, but certain stuff I'm like, I can't enjoy this. This just it's not for me. And so I think that kind of pushed me more towards it just pushed me more towards God, really. And then I had friends who were, Cameron specifically, shout out Cam if you're watching. But he told me, he's like, I read the Bible every night. You have to listen. And I started going to on campus Christian groups and whatnot, and they talked about how building your relationship with God is how you would build a relationship with like a person. You have to listen as well as talk. You can't just pray and not listen. And so through that, I kind of started getting the ball rolling, and then coming up here, I started getting that ball rolling, going to Emerge and whatnot, and I felt ready. I knew once I graduated college, I was like, I think I'm ready to do it.
And that's that can be intimidating. Like coming from the Northwest, where church is different. It's different all the way around. And you come to like the Bible Belt of Texas, and you're like seeing like mega churches for the first time, and it can be intimidating. You're like, what is going on down here? I'm used to a small, intimate setting, but now church is this thing that I've never experienced before. And I think I too, when I was in college, I began to kind of explore like what is church for me, because going back to what I said initially, right? Church for me, when I was a kid, was something that took me away from things that I wanted to do, right? But it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I loved going to church. There's an infamous story I told them, my youth Bible study class when they were little, about me wanting to go to church with my grandmother so bad. So I wanted to go to church with my grandmother so bad. I loved my grandmother with all my heart. If she was going to church, I didn't mind going to church. And I had came in from outside, I was playing, I was dirty, and my grandmother was getting ready to leave for church. She wasn't getting ready for church, she was getting ready to leave for church. Someone was coming to pick her up, and I wanted to go. I wanted to go so bad that I hid her church shoes. I threw them on top of the roof. And these were...
top of the roof.
Yes, I threw them on top of the roof.
Not sure if I remember this.
Yeah. I threw them on top of the roof, and they were white, and she had to have on all white that Sunday. And my mom was like, have you seen your grandmother's shoes? And I was like, no. And I'm rushing, I'm trying to bathe and hurry up and get ready. And meanwhile, her ride is there. And this lady has come to pick up my grandmother, and my grandmother cannot find her shoes, so she can't go. And the time is just going 10 minutes past, 15 minutes past, 20 minutes past, 30 minutes. They are late for church. And my mama looks at me and says, boy, where are those shoes? She knows I've done something with them, and I confess that I threw the shoes up on the roof, and I get in so much trouble. I get in so much trouble. My mom was so mad at me. But I guess that's the conundrum of how going to church weighed on me mentally. I wanted to be with my grandmother, and I wanted to experience that so bad that I was willing to get into trouble. And then on the other hand, I was trying to be cool for my friends, and when I had to go to church, I didn't really want to go to church. And I guess that led to me, when I got into college, to explore, like, okay, what is this all about? Kind of similar to your story. And I felt this need to be closer to God, because I really do believe it was weighing on me mentally, you know, in the pressures of society. So how do you deal? I'm going to go to you first, Lanaya, and then I'll defer to you, Josh. But You coming from the Great Northwest, you are now supplanted in this church.
Mhm.
So how is that weighing on you, whether it's good or bad, and how does that reflect to your friends that may not be churched?
Uh, I think I don't have any like serious pressure that's like weighing on me, in a negative way. I think it's more like just newness, I'm just you can start anywhere, your walk with God anywhere, and you see people who are younger than you who are like, closer, it's just embracing the fact that I am where I am, and that doesn't take away from anything or anything like that, and being here and embracing new opportunities and doing stuff, having conversations that I've not had before, and meeting new people. A lot of my friends, I think I'm blessed to say, like, are all followers of God, and although we are all at different spots, I can have a conversation with any one of them about that, and I think that is a priority for me now in life more so than ever, to have people like with the same beliefs, because it starts to show more. You want to surround yourself with like-minded people who really want the best for you and want the best for themselves. So I haven't had any trouble in relationships so far with not seeing eye to eye when it comes to faith, thankfully.
Yeah, and that's great. I think that's a real good thing, because there's a lot of pressure to be, right? Whatever that encompasses, right? It's a lot of pressure to be this, it's a lot of pressure to be that. And I think being comfortable being who you are and being who God created you to be is a great thing. And to you, Josh, it's different because you came up and church was all around you. I know, because I've known you since you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
Church was all around you.
Yeah.
So was there any pressure on you, like when you got to college, to say, oh, I don't want to be this, be in this box of church?
Absolutely. Because for one thing, it wasn't just not just being homeschooled for so long. It was really just the fact that I was isolated. I was isolated from just even cultural aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not sure. I think I mentioned this in the first podcast, but like I didn't see any of the Fridays until I got to Grambling. I didn't see any. I had to watch all the Fridays. I didn't watch Love and Basketball until college. I was behind. I'm like, gosh, man. Like what? Like my parents failed me, man. Like, how did?
Did they fail you, or did they keep you away?
Yeah, they kept me. They kept me away. There was certain. I'll give them this. So I ain't the mom. Look, y'all watch. Look. I didn't say all that. So, but let me backtrack a little bit. So, but basically, there was a protection. So they went by the rating scale and stuff like that. So I am appreciative of that. But there was a lot of pressure just being in school, and I'm like, I didn't know jack. Even when I was in high school, it's like I cannot believe. Like, and it pushed me, like, I want to be this guy. And it took certain things, like being a part of certain clubs, especially when I did this one show in college, Stadium View, where I literally played the opposite of my own character. Yeah. Like, literally. I was like, and by then, it was like, okay, good. Okay. We're good. We're going somewhere.
So you got a chance to kind of, like, live out this life that vicariously through this character.
Yeah, it was that chance. I was like, finally, but at the same time, there was no fulfillment. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the actual longing fulfillment. So after I graduated college, and then I come back to Texas a little bit, one of the things that was new for me at the time was Young Adult Ministries. Yeah. Yeah. At that time frame, like not just here in Emerge, but also at other places I've been to. Like I was just surprised. I'm like at the same time I ain't gonna lie, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, are y'all really
for the Lord?
Are y'all really for Jesus, man? Like, are y'all just are y'all just here trying to get a little something dip? I don't know. Yeah. But as I got to know everybody, I'm like, oh wow, these guys are genuine. Yeah. I met brothers that was genuine, met sisters that was genuine. Yeah. And it really moved me to the point where I was emotional. I remember I broke down and cried one time. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that's what Lanaya was kind of referring to, right? When you got here, you start to see people who were on the same path as you. It helps. Mm-hmm. But to what you were saying, I was kind of sheltered as a kid myself. Like my mom was not taking us to the movies. You could not listen to like hip hop or rap in the house. It was a lot of things that my mom sheltered me from. But now I understand her logic. I understand what she was actually saying, what she was trying to convey, and what she was trying to pour into us.
Yeah.
And I think that what she was trying to pour into us was a strong foundation, because that's what you need.
Yeah.
So when we talk about like what mental health and the actual church, I know that there's a lot of strides going forth now for mental health, and we are very much aware and we are paying attention to the mental health of the people who come to worship with us. But I also think we should look at it from the aspect of, mental health is not, and mental health and the church is not always a bad thing. It may just be like how the church affected me, or to Lania's point, how the church was where I was to where I am now. Or to your point, Josh, how the church surrounded me, right? And then I got this freedom, but now I'm back.
Yeah, and I'll go in to add on to this too, as far as like mental health within the church. Too many times, a lot of people, they blame one bad incident that happened in church based off of one person. And because of that, they naturally assume, okay, all churches are like that nationwide or worldwide.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I wanted to say, like, onto that, I think your parents' perception of everything influences your perception of everything. So my first introduction to Christianity was through my mom. So, until I came out and I had to form my own opinions or think about things or touch the book and read it myself, all I knew was what she said. And I think that's kind of why, like, I think I had some opinions, but I was like, this is kind of, I can't have an opinion if I don't read,
Yeah.
And so that, I think that also pushed me to grow closer with God in a way, because it's like I'm ignorant, truthfully, if I can't say this is how I feel if I haven't read it. So I think that's a big thing too. Like, people's perception of religion is greatly dependent on what they've seen and who has introduced them to it. And I think that's like one of the hardest things to shake, especially that's what I've seen in college, is that's kind of like, oh, my parents said this. And I think like when you're young but still an adult, it's kind of one of those things where you got to figure it out yourself. I think that's one of the bigger things.
Cause, and to piggyback off of that as well, because you said something really key, because I was one of those ones living off of my parents' idealists of the Bible, and it didn't take me going to school. I'm like, it's so much different. Yeah. What's amazing about what's going on with young adult ministries, not just here at Antioch, but at other churches that's going on nationwide. Like, you meet a bunch of people our age that are living for God for ourselves, not out of our parents, not out the backbone of our parents or anything, not by they didn't push us to be over there. Yeah. We're making that we're seeing for ourselves, in spite of our imperfections, in spite of all the things we don't try to do. Like, nah, I need Jesus. Like, this ain't, look, I'm at a point where I'm like, look, I want a wife, I want to start a family and stuff like that one day, but I can't get nowhere if I don't get myself right spiritually. Wow. Like, that is, and I've met a lot of young adults, not just here, but at other places where they've gone through some of the same stuff I've been through. I've met so many different stories, some that gone through abusive situations, some that were like that transitioned out of different lifestyles, where it's like, oh snap, they came to a point where, like, when it helps, it's therapeutic to see somebody that looks like us. When I say us, I'm talking about black people. Like, I'm gonna keep it real. Cause when you see that, it's like, dang, there are black Christians up in here that actually care about Jesus. They actually care about my walk. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me I want to join in too. Yeah. Like, it does something where it's like, let me stick around for a little bit, because it's like it's something that was missed out, because we feel it's because being at a space, like we all want to go where everyone else is going, where it's popular. But when you see something like black Christians there that has not been seen, this is rare. Because, like, I remember when me and my small group at my mom's church that we went out to eat. If I was to show a picture of us, like, you would not guess that we just came out of a Bible study. You would for real.
So what was the picture?
It was like we all took a group picture together. We just brothers. We were just out. We just took a picture outside of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Basically signifying like just to encourage other people. Hey, let's hang out outside of small groups, outside of church, just to get together.
Yeah.
And so that was our get together, and just doing that, it's like it's that motivation. Like, oh wow, there are more. It's like that Elijah moment. That Elijah moment where you're thinking you're the only one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait a minute, I'm not the only one here, God.
And I think that's like, to your experience, because it's somebody that probably grew up and was like, oh, I thought it was only black Christians,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
But my experience was very different from that. I grew up going with my grandmother. Like I told you guys, I love to go to church with her. She would go to any church. We would go to see Jimmy Swaggart when he came and Robert Tilton. So I would be around Christians who are all different races, colors, and creeds all the time. And that was the normalcy for me. And if we were not going to a convention, my grandmother, we would go to churches that were where all kinds of people came to church. I think my grandmother was a people person, and she had so many friends of so many different races, and so many different nationalities, and I would just find myself at all these different churches, but that was normal to me, So I think there were two key things as we wrap this up that came out. Lanaya said, "Touch the book."
Yeah.
Touch it.
You have to. I think because not only, I said it because of, your parents introduced you to stuff, but there's also a lot of things out there that are performative. Like, everybody uses social media. You see people preaching and it's like, and even at, my school, SFA, there used to be Tuesday and Thursdays. There used to be like these radical Christians who would come and spew like hateful things. And it's like, well, if I don't touch the book, then what you kind of say goes, because I'm more ignorant than you. I don't know. And so it just takes, one person to hear that and lead them down the wrong way. So that's why I was like, I have to read this for myself, and I have to hear it for myself for it to make sense, because if I listen to anybody, then I'm listening wrong anyway. So
that's key, because
and you said something, Josh. You said you need Jesus. So you got to touch the book so you can find Jesus. And when you touch the book, I think the book will open up, and I think God will reveal Himself.
Absolutely.
To you. So with that being said, we'll catch y'all next time on Neon Jesus. I'm Pastor Brandon.
I'm Josh.
I'm Lanaya.
Remember, tell a friend to tell a friend. Like, share, and subscribe.